we got together, she would fill me in on your accomplishments, and yes, even your exploits. She was one proud mama. Because, like I said previously, we lived at a distance, my children never really got to know their Auntie Gail. But I can tell you, she always warmed my heart when she would ask after them. She never forgot their age, what they were up to, and often would ask some specifics about each of them. I feel certain that all her nieces and nephews were in that very same memory bank. As a mother-in-law, Jessica tells me Gail was the best. She accepted her with open arms, and although Gail raised only sons, she welcomed the arrival of her first new daughter-in-law with warmth and kindness. Of course, as most of us know who are mother-in-laws, the sign of a good mother-in-law is to keep your mouth shut. Never to question the decisions of your son's wife, especially not to your son, and to visit sparingly. Well, Gail was a natural at it. Due to her struggles with mental illness in the latter years, Gail spent most of her time at home and later in the hospital. But even though the darkness overcame her at times, her keen mind never failed her. What she didn't see or hear herself, she absorbed through the stories told to her by Larry mainly. So, girls, even though your grandmother wasn't at every event, her knowledge of you, Olivia, Peyton, and where is Quinn? And Quinn, and also little Ollie, was phenomenal. Throughout the years, visits meant she would regale me with things you had done. Now, they weren't nearly as horrifying as your father's antics, but I felt very privileged to have had such a sharing time with her. As a teacher for 10 years, Gail saw many students come and go, and she always encouraged them to become more. I can't imagine any student not liking her. She would do whatever she could to help them succeed and ached at the injustices that some of them felt. I can still hear her indignation and see the angry glint in her eyes, and Gail didn't get angry often, but when she did, she could be fierce. I could still see it in her eyes as she told the story of this one young student who fell asleep on his desk. When questioned why he was so tired, she discovered the boy played hockey very early in the mornings and didn't even like it. She asked why he played and was told his father made him play and paid him for each goal he scored. Gail's anger at this parental stance was palpable. Moving to Calgary was a huge change for the Stilwell family. Larry speaks of how he and co-workers moved for their jobs, but that Gail really had no one. However, stoic, steadfast Gail made the move with nary a complaint. Life began anew for her, which included a change in career. SAIT became her daily focus. More specifically, her certification program in library and information technology. Working as a librarian didn't just mean stacking books for Gail. No, always the educator, she used it as a teaching time too. Larry recently told me that when some grade 9 students wanted to take out Captain Underpants books, she quickly told them they needed to look for something more appropriate. Way to go, girl. Of course, Gail becoming a librarian and sticking at it for 17 years made perfect sense to me. Gail being a voracious reader and all, well, being strictly a romance reader myself, her eclectic reading choices were always a marvel to me. I don't think there was much Gail didn't read, well, except maybe romance novels. Something I learned about Gail recently, believe me, she definitely never bragged about herself or her accomplishments, was that she had worked in the scouting movement as a beaver leader for around 8 years, but who knew? Playing the role of shadow to little beavers would have been interesting, and I can only imagine her stories, not to mention the frustrating moments passed each week while watching her own busy little beaver and dealing with the rest of the colony. As a child of God, Gail knew the power of prayer, and I am told one of the prayers we'll hear today was written by her. Because she was never one to toot her own horn, the hours she spent serving at the various churches they attended over the years are hardly known. But this I do know. Gail would have been the first to help the homeless, feed the hungry, and clothe the naked. Those whom she helped would have felt the hand of God and been comforted, even for just a moment. We are all asked to serve in this hurting world, and my beloved sister-in-law did just that. Gail asked for nothing, well, except pretty much every day she asked Larry for a Tim Hortons coffee, but put that aside, she did give so much, quietly, without fanfare, or for the need for recognition. On the days that she was able to, she would welcome all and would reach out a helping hand when she could. If you were fortunate enough to call her your friend, then you were fortunate indeed. She loved you unconditionally, and in whatever state you were in. If you needed water, she got it for you. If you needed a hand to hold, she offered hers. She listened, she cared, she responded, she felt. I know this firsthand. When I realized my husband couldn't be with me, Gail was the person I chose to be in the labor and delivery room when our 2 youngest children were born. She selflessly gave up her time with her own young family to come and spend hours with me. She literally dropped everything the moment I called and said it was time. She was my rock and my strength. She talked me through the process, cried tears of joy with me when the babies came, and never wavered in the support she gave me. However, the pictures she took of me in full birthing mode, well, let's just say, firstly, I'm really surprised they got printed at all. And secondly, they definitely didn't make it in either of my children's baby books. So yes, she was a daughter, a sister, a niece, and a wife, a daughter-in-law, a sister-in-law, a mother, an aunt, a beaver leader. She was a mother-in-law and a grandmother, a teacher, a librarian, an eclectic reader, and a child of God. She was also a friend. But most importantly, Gail was a woman I trusted. She was a woman I respected, a woman I loved more than I can ever express. So rest easy, my beloved sister-in-law and my friend. We've lost you physically, but you will always be in our hearts.
Beautifully said, thank you. At this time, I'd like to invite Lynn forward to offer her words of tribute to the wife of Gail.
Thank you, Wendy. That was amazing. So when I was thinking about if I would speak and what would I speak of, I thought, well, a lot of people didn't know us when we were kids. And I thought that would be the topic. And thank you, Wendy, for the priming. So these are reflections on sisterly childhood. And certainly there was so much more. But this is what came to me as I was thinking about that time growing up together. So I'm Gail's younger sister, Lynn, officially Linda Joy. However, my full name was only used by our older brother, Wayne, whenever I was getting into trouble. So use Lynn, please, not Linda Joy. But I was the lucky one. Gail was almost 3.5 years older than me, and she shouldered the load of our situations. She was my go-to, caring, supportive guardian throughout my whole life. We had our share of sibling battles, of course, but we were the best of buddies growing up, especially after our mom passed away far too soon. Gail was only 14 and I was 11. I was the lucky one. I had a big sister. Gail was always on the lookout for me. She graciously took on the role of surrogate mom, even when I resisted her caring, as well as our older brothers, in my freedom-seeking teenage years. She was always there for me. I don't remember her ever telling me what to do, other than questioning and sometimes showing disapproval, but she always respected my decisions. I was the lucky one. We grew up in simpler times compared to the complexities of today, when riding our bikes, roller skating on the sidewalk, playing cards and board games together, watching Saturday morning cartoons, Walt Disney and Hockey Night in Canada. Those were our weekly not-to-be-missed highlights. Our backyard swing set, winter skating rink, scaling the big snowbanks in Montreal, and playing neighborhood hide-and-seek kept us busy outdoors for hours. I was the lucky one. I had a big sister to hang with and who took the lead for me. We saved our empty soft drink bottles until we collected enough to fill our wooden wagon and proudly take them to the corner store with our mom for newly filled ones. We always got a treat at that little corner store, a comic book, a chocolate bar, or a soft drink at the soda fountain bar on those very special days. I was the lucky one, and I was the happiest kid on earth. But we had to grow up quickly, however, having to take care of ourselves mostly when our dad was away working up north. Our mother had fortunately, by that young age, taught us how to cook, how to clean, how to buy groceries, how to do laundry, how to manage the $20 to $40 our father would leave us for the month for food, and how to take care of ourselves and the household. Often relatives who were supposed to be taking care of us, they were the ones who needed more care than we did, actually, at times. But it all seemed kind of normal then. It's just how life was. And I had Gail to lean on, to take the lead from, as she assumed the necessary role without a question and without complaint ever of caregiver and caretaker. Again, I was the lucky one. I had my big sister to rely on. As we grew up, married, and had our families, again, I was the lucky one, having a big sister to call who was always glad to hear my voice, no matter how infrequently at times. We lived far away up north, and Gail and Larry were down south, and in those days we didn't have cell phones, and Bell Canada counted every minute on your phone. So we called infrequently, but when we did, we had very good discussions. And when we visited, we'd share stories on the phone and in visits. We'd share stories of our children and enjoy long conversations about school libraries that we both worked in, me up north and her down south, which was ironic, including that darn Dewey Decimal System, and sharing stories only librarians would appreciate. Gail, I love you dearly, and you will always be my big sis. I am so blessed for you being my big sister. I was the lucky one. And until our next adventures, as Rumi reminds us, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field, and I'll meet you there. Thank you.
For the gift of a loving older sister, we give thanks. Friends, at this time it has been requested that we sing a hymn together that was chosen by the family for the service. So The words will appear on the screen. The music will play on the sound system. I'm going to invite you to stand as you're able, and we will sing together, Spirit, Spirit of Gentleness. Let's sing.
Spirit, Spirit of gentleness, blow through the wilderness. And free. Spirit, Spirit of restlessness, stir me from placidness, wind of the sea. You moved on the waters, and you coaxed down the mountains from the valleys of sleep, and over the eons and rise on your wings. Spirit, Spirit of gentleness, calming and free. Spirit, Spirit of restlessness, stir from fastness, wind of the sea. You swept through the desert to stop and you quoted your people for the long land. And when they were blinded with their eyes, they spoke through your prophets to open their eyes. You said in the whispered in silence when the whole world was dead. You threw your people on the rock of the wind. Spirit, Spirit of gentleness, make it free. Spirit, Spirit of restlessness, stir from fastness, wind of the sea. You call from the bondage of sorrow, deep spring dreams, our ribbons deep with golden decision. Spirit, Spirit of gentleness, blow through the wilderness, free and Spirit, Spirit of restlessness, stir me from pastness, wind.
Seated. This time I would like to invite Olivia and Peyton and Quinn forward to offer their words of tribute to their grandmother.
To To be loved by our grandma was truly the biggest privilege of a lifetime, and today we would like to give you just a small peek into why we were so lucky to call her Grams. If Grams was here with us right now, we would each have a million things to update her on, stories to tell about work, friends, life, school, and the shenanigans we got up to. One of our favorite things to do with our Grams was talk. A simple conversation about everything and nothing at the same time. Conversations with her were easy. There was no searching for words to fill the silence. Grams was a listener, and not just listening to respond to whatever we had gone on and on about, but she listened to every word, every worry, every joy, every sadness, every anger, every laugh that left our lips. She listened. The best part is when she would respond, sometimes with the perfect solution to a problem, a funny joke, or wisdom that would heal a part of our hearts that only her words could mend. Grams was a warm embrace. She was never the physical affection type of person, but her actions were the warm embrace. You could sit down on the couch across from Grams, and the offerings of comfort would start flowing in, whether it was a snack, a blanket, some Kleenex she kept stocked on every table in every room, or a glass of water. She made sure we were comfortable. Being around Grams was comfortable. She never judged, and she accepted us for who we were at that moment. She was a soft place to land after a hard week, a place to go to celebrate the wins, big or small. Grams was the sounding board for all of our ideas. I remember a couple of years back, I was talking about finding a new job. She looked at me and said, "Why don't you become a truck driver?" I let out a laugh and asked, "A truck driver out of all things?" She said she saw on the news that less than 1% of truck drivers were women, and you should become one to make a difference. Between my laughing and reminding Grams that I didn't have the best driving history and told her about the time I put the car Peyton and I shared on top of a tree stump, she laughed and said, "Okay, well, maybe not a truck driver, but find a job you make a difference in." She and every part of her life made a difference. She impacted coworkers, students, friends, and family in her making differences. When we were young girls, Peyton, Quinn, and I were spending the day in between piles of paint bottles and paintbrushes in Gramps and Gramps' basement. And a disagreement between the three of us broke out about something probably very silly. Grams noticed and told us to get dressed in our snowsuits and get ready to go for a walk. Now the three of us, dressed like little marshmallows, started following Grams outside while she started the trek along the icy path to the small bunch of trees near the house. Obviously, every step we took, we asked, "Where were we going?" Her response was, "You'll see." Once we made our way to the trees, Grams looked at us and said, "Okay, go hug that tree." Now the giggle choir erupted between the three of us, not believing that Grams really had us put on all 45 layers of winter clothes, made us walk, and asked us to hug a tree. Well, of course, Grams was serious. I remember that I was the first to hug the tree, not wanting to be outside in the cold any longer. Quinn followed after me, giving the tree a quick hug, not wanting to make Grams upset. Peyton was the last to hug the tree, protesting the way only Peyton could. But after Grams reminded her that we weren't leaving until she gave the tree a hug, and Grams wasn't backing down, finally, after looking at all of our faces, Peyton hugged the tree, and we walked home. The three of us ran through the door, taking off all of the layers of clothes we had just piled on, splattering the hallway with all of the winter clothes. We went on with our night, laughing, making dinner, and building some very abstract gingerbread houses with so much icing and a little candy, because they ended up in our bellies before they even made it onto the house. There was not a single argument between the three of us for the rest of that evening. Looking back now, at the time, we didn't think anything of our adventure to that tree. Just an odd but funny thing. Now getting to experience life and all the sadness, troubles, and joy, we finally get it. Graham saw we needed to get out of the house, go outside and take a break, to get out of the place we were stuck in, to step away for just a moment to change your perspective. Now that we are older, we often remember our adventure to that tree with Grams. In her abstract and out-of-the-box teaching, she taught us a lesson that has left a lasting impact and made a difference on how we approach each day. Grams was a teacher in every area of her life. We always joked that if we were on a game show and we got to phone a friend, we were without a doubt calling Grams. She was able to take the smallest of things and turn them into teaching moments. She had such a passion for knowledge and sharing that knowledge with everyone and anyone she saw. We were lucky to see Grams in her element as our librarian. Getting to see this side of Grams when we were at Red Deer Lake was inspiring. We got to watch her serve coworkers and students with a passion for learning, and she left a lasting impact on each and every one. Her passion for knowledge has been instilled in us girls. Before Grams passed, Peyton got to share that she was heading back to university, and the pure joy that gleamed across Grams' face could have lit the room. Grams always encouraged us to never stop learning, and in that moment, with her being tired and weak, Grams was so thrilled and proud of Pei for taking that step. Her teacher heart valued education and instilled in us the same. Kindness and acts of service was who Gram was from the time she was little, even until her final days. She made sure to show that these acts, whether big or small, made an impact. From hearing stories of the boys growing up about how their house was the house to go to if you needed a meal, a soft place to land, some wisdom or encouragement, to bringing us three girls along to In From the Cold to volunteer, and everything and anything in between. She made sure to give back. Grams made sure to show us girls by her actions that you can make an impact and help those who might need it. When I would go visit Grams when she was in the hospital, I'd go sit, chat, and do her hair. I got to do her hair one final time on her last day, and I was honored to be able to give back that small act of service. I will carry that honor with me for all the days of my life, just to give back an ounce of kindness and service she gave this world. Grams was not afraid to speak up for those who needed it, and was the first to call something out. Her heart was big, and you could see her heart hurting for those hurting, and celebrated those who were celebrating. She taught us to stand up for what we believe in, use your voice for the good, and push for change where needed. Quinn would tell Grams about all that she was doing to help push for that change and equality for those who needed it. Every step Quinn took to be the change, Grams was the cheerleader behind her, giving her encouragement to keep pursuing change and lifted her up when fighting for a cause. Grams had a passion for making this world a better, safer, kinder place, and we carry that with us each day. To have such a kind, loving, and strong woman as a role model has set the tone for who we are and who we want to be as women. There isn't a day that goes by where what Grams has taught us that hasn't been shown or appears. We are the luckiest granddaughters in the world to have gotten to call her Grams. To be loved by her has been the most special gift. +1, Grams. Love your girls, Livy, Pei, and Quinn.
This time I'd like to call Dylan and Leaf and Jesse forward to offer their words of tribute to their mom.
Hi there. Some of you might not know who I am. I'm Gail Stilwell's oldest son, the first one, the best one. I don't want to say anything really. Sorry, they're great guys too. The Unwavering Light, a story of our mom. I know that all of you here in this beautiful assembly of faces loved our mom, and I know you each carry a piece of her story. But as one of the three sons she somehow managed to shepherd through this life, I speak on behalf of my brothers when I say this. We were the lucky ones who got to live inside her world. We were her miraculous experiment, her constant focus group, her three-ring circus. If you really want to know what defined our mom, it wasn't her resume or a list of formal accomplishments. It was her unwavering belief that to know better is to do better. And she knew so much. When I was a kid, I honestly thought my mom was kind of like the original AI. She was the first phone a friend, as mentioned earlier, a walking encyclopedia, even that coveted yearly updated encyclopedia that only rich people could afford. She was the woman who knew a million things, who possessed that quiet, constant hum of curiosity, driven by books and CBC radio, a constant soundtrack that some might say radicalized us. I say it simply gave us more humanity. The truth is she showed us how to be vigilant in knowledge and how to accept the things we've learned. She didn't just absorb facts, she debated them. Our dinner table was less a place of quiet chewing and more lively, loud, Quebecois conversational fight, complete with hand gestures and animation that would make an outsider seem like we were angry. This was our mom, teaching her boys critical thinking. And even now, as it exhausts all the daughters-in-law, because everything is a debate. My wife, Jess, is nodding. Talking about our partners, the women who truly got to know her. My wife, Jess, was the first daughter joining the family a quarter century ago. Mom adored her, and as my brothers grew up, she happily welcomed two more remarkable women into the fold. These three women, the daughters, now walk alongside of us, the three sons, and they also walk alongside the guy who walked next to my mom for that many years. You see, Mom's love was constant. Chaos may have been the wallpaper in our house, but there were certainties. Her presence, her work as a cafeteria worker, and later as a librarian, feeding and nurturing everyone who needed it. That love was most constant of all. I think of bus rides after a sports game, win or lose, she'd be there. We'd take the city bus home, chatting about our day. She never criticized. She just praised us when we showed up. That simple act of just showing up, of being present, was her deepest form of love and protection. We grew up with a certain shield, a certain name, and a rich history woven from the weird cultural mix of Quebec Irish Protestant farmers and Chinese immigrants. That heritage, that cultural blend, it gifted us with a wonderful, sometimes chaotic, but unwavering charm. People would hear our last name and often put a gentle touch on our shenanigans. We didn't quite understand that love and protection until moments like this, when you pause and you take a deep breath and you realize you were always safe amongst everyone. Our mom and dad were truly pacifists, hippies at heart. Violence was absolutely not their way, yet somehow in our blood there was a generational rage for justice, a willingness to fight for those without a voice. While they passed that violent history by for themselves, they never ever tolerated injustice. I remember one time on the city bus, a man was being aggressively disrespectful. My mom certainly turned, gave him the look, and dressed him down with such a quiet, principled fury. The man sat down real quick. If you ever challenged the most simplest of human decency, it would provoke a fury in her that was impossible to ignore. She was an advocate and a fighter for the underdog, and she pushed us. She was about the quiet, persistent effort. She was about the need to challenge herself. Whether it was the stuffing the five of us into a small car trip all the way to PEI, making a long journey feel like an adventure, simply because we were together, or her time working in the library where she'd gently tell a kid, that's not a challenging enough book for you, and encourage them to stretch their knowledge. Though I will say the graphic novel she told the kids to put back did lead one of the brothers to a university degree in art. So as we boys grew up, we began to see our mom not just as a parent, but as a whole person. For our brother Jesse, who was still at home when mom started her second career as a librarian, he got to experience her in a new role. Jesse was beginning his journey into fine arts, and they discovered a shared intellectual space. Many people think Jesse is his father's son, both artists, but Jesse says his success comes from mom too. It was through their long, thoughtful conversations on philosophy, and art theory, that he developed the exploratory critical thinking and curiosity vital to the work he does now. When he chose to major in painting, she cried out of love and fear for the difficult path. But a few years later, she sat proudly at his graduation, watching him receive his distinction on the very same stage she had crossed for her own degree here in Calgary. She was always proud of him for staying true to himself and following his curiosity. And then there's our brother Leaf. He is the free spirit, the one who likes to roam and experience life. He possesses the McEwen knack for all things blue collar, rebuilding things with his hands. Even at a young age, he was a bit of a hippie, heading into the States to follow the Grateful Dead. Mom marveled at him. She was always both amazed and worried about him all at the same time. Boy, was she excited when he would turn up with updates or send those emails from far-flung places. We'd gather around as she'd exclaim, "Is that Leaf with a Cambodian policeman posting for a picture? Is that Leaf in Machu Picchu?" She found the joy in his love for the unknown in his travels. She also found immense pride when he told her his family the birth of her fourth granddaughter, and she would recount every visit Leaf and his family made. He later in life upgraded his skills through school, earning diplomas in several different technical fields. See, this is the second brother who got an education. Gosh, there's only one that's not educated. Good thing I can talk well, I guess. She taught a generation of kids, including family members here, helping them lead with compassion and empathy when it was so easy to lead with violence or even anger. This was her form of grassroots, quiet activism, leading young minds in classrooms. No matter the subject, her answer was always the same: a book, a conversation, a push to learn more. Mom, you gave us everything. We never went without, and we were always safe. I think that gets you into the Library of Alexandria or even the Imperial Library of Constantinople, and every literary conversation shared over stories in the pages of a book. She left behind her lessons, her beliefs, and a legacy. But she didn't leave us behind without equipping us. I could stand here for hours and tell you stories, but she'd tell me to get to the point, be concise, go be curious. So I leave you with this, her final lesson, a story of hope and the curiosity of life. Someone once said one of the most meaningful things in life is to make someone feel special and appreciated. So find where the world needs help and offer it. Be curious and question, always with the knowledge that you learned from a book. And know that our amazing mother, having lived a life so well and endured so many hardships, must finally feel the deep, well-deserved peace she earned. And if you need a little direction today, if you're looking for a simple, beautiful way to honor her answer would be, for God's sake, go hug a tree. Love you, Mom.
Might be hard for me, but I'm going to read what I wrote out last night because I kind of been neglecting this for a while. So, as we're here to celebrate the beautiful life of my mom, words can't express the loss that kind of lays deep inside my heart. My mom had a deep relationship together that I can only describe as magical. I truly believe my mom was my soulmate. When she wept, I wept with her. When she's in pain, I could feel her pain deep inside my soul. When I saw her happy, I was happy. And when she laughed, I laughed with her. If I felt sick, she felt sick, and so on and so on. I've never felt such a beautiful bond with anyone else in my life, and I've had many bonds with many special people in my life, including my brothers, my father, and my grandmother and grandpa. Mom's and I's is something else to me anyways. From my early years as a child, I can remember how tight she used to grip my hand when we were together. Get to the store or to do errands so tight, in fact, that she separated my shoulder twice. I was a wild child and was running into traffic on both occasions. And first couple times she saved my life anyway. That tight grip would forever be burned into my mind as I felt safe and protected and loved by my mom. As a young boy, I'll never forget her songs. She sang me to sleep. Bedtime for the Bucky Doos is the one he used to sing. To my brothers as well. That's one that comes to mind. Her soft voice echoed in my head till I fell asleep, only to wake up to a soft kiss on my forehead every morning. Mom had taught me perseverance against all odds, and that I'll forever be grateful for that. She was a survivor and a trooper in my eyes that managed to achieve great things in life despite being dealt a tough hand at an early age. I was so proud of her once I learned she managed to beat those odds and graduate from university, have a career as an educator, be a faithful, devoted wife, raise 3 wild boys of her own, which was definitely the hardest part. Go back to school in her 50s, getting a new career as a librarian, which was right in her element. It was, I can't even read my own writing. It was such an exciting thing to watch my mom embrace her new home in Calgary and attend all the cultural events new to the city she had to offer. She dragged my dad around endlessly. She loved the Stampede Parade, which my dad wasn't too fond of at times, going to the folk music festival with Dad, and going to plays, art galleries. Those things truly made her happy, which in turn once again made me happy, as I haven't, as I, I know, I haven't know it's hard for her, as an introvert to step outside her shell and persevere against all odds in the name of of her well-being. Yeah. Sorry, I really scribbled this together last night. There was things that Mom loved more than anything in the world. Number one was her husband, Larry, her kids, her grandkids, and her books. I was introduced to so many good books by Mom that I often would never picked up myself and let me pick up a book. A lot of the books she shared were about survivors and the little guy who overcame all obstacles only to thrive and succeed. I don't know if this was on purpose or not, but it definitely gave me some extra hope when I felt little hope in my life. Mom never stopped short when it came to encouraging me, especially never giving up hope on me when she easily could have. At all times, teaching me an understanding and compassion for the less fortunate, teaching me right from wrong, but also to stand up for myself and what I believe in. I'll never forget the way she looked into my eyes when I walked through the door. It was a feeling of pure love, understanding, forgiveness, acceptance, and pride. I could be having the hardest time and the biggest hurt, and she made me feel special, loved, and truly cared for. It was always the most comforting feeling as she studied my face, looking into my eyes, her eyes saying, "It will be okay, son. You'll get through this." Mom, I want to let you know that your love is eternal and will never be broken. And I will cherish this for eternity. I will always watch over you, Mom, and feel you in my heart and soul until the last breath and beyond. Thank you for giving me this life to live and prosper with your granddaughter, Shane, and a new little guy coming. There's a piece of you in every one of us that I will forever cherish forever as well. I'm thankful that you held me with your first breath, for my first breath, and I held your hand during your last breath on earth. As hard as it was for me, I know you could feel my energy and love, thankfulness, and as I held your hand tightly, and it hit as you did when I was a little boy. You're free now, Mom, and I'll miss you every single day with every part of me until we reunite again upon a different path together. You'll forever be my soulmate. And I seek solace into knowing that this will never be the end of you and I. Thank you, Mom, for all you were and you ever be. I'm sorry. And your light will never dim. And my light will never dim because of you. I'd like to give a special thanks to my dad, my father, for sticking by my mom's side through thick and thin. Your love and commitment and undying love is unbelievably commendable. And I thank you for watching over my mom always and caring for her. Love you, Mom. Thanks.
This time I'd like to invite Larry forward to offer his words of tribute to Gail. You're good? Yeah. You are last. I'm sticking to the script you gave me.
I have a script.
Okay. Yeah, all right.
I didn't talk to Bill about wearing green today. You may have noticed that Bill and I wore the same colors. I'm sorry, Bill. I should have phoned you ahead of time. I could have worn a different color. I know many of you. I know so many of you. I feel so lucky and loved that all of you showed up here today to love the person that I loved so dearly. My speech won't be as long. It may not be as heartfelt or teary as my son's, but I'm really glad that Gail brought up Terry's sons. So I wrote this. Dear Gail, today we've come together to celebrate your life, a life filled with love, dedication, and empathy. On this date, 54 years ago, I married you. I wanted to celebrate your life on this day so that I would always remember these two events on the same date, the day I married you and the day I put you to rest in this lovely garden. My life now is to carry on without you. Your empathy was a lens through which you viewed the world. When a disaster struck and the Red Cross put out an appeal, you would ask me, how much can we give? Never if, but how much. Your feminism was another lens. We've talked about this before, so bear me with while I go over it. You were 14 when your mom died, leaving you to bring up your younger sister, Lynn, and to join Alateen to cope with the often absent alcoholic father. Did your thinking about safe places for the LGBTQ2+ come out of those years? In August of 1971, when you and I were going to London, England, I asked, you were going to London, I asked if I could come along, and you said you were going with or without me. Those feminists. You were a joy to watch engaging in arguments with other travelers in our hostel. In the 80s, you worked for the Social Justice Committee in Montreal, distributing clothing. We worked together at this church at In From the Cold Project. You led me here. You enjoyed reading. That's an understatement. Often you read into the night when I would wake and ask, "Can we turn out the light soon?" "Just 2 more pages," was the reply. We have 850 books in our collection. That's excluding those years that she borrowed from libraries. I thought I'd honor her if I would read as many as I could. I did the math. It will take me 47 years. Your love of reading and teaching was never more evident than at the Red Deer Lake School, Learning Commons. When a younger student came to sign out a book, you would ask them to read the first 2 lines. If they struggled, you would recommend an easier book. You had a very good grasp of the collection. You must have redefined the classics when in 1912 you selected the following: Cat's Cradle by Kurt Vonnegut, Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad, Klondike by Pierre Burton, Season of Hell and the Drunken Rimbaud by T.P. Arthur, and Siddhartha by Hermann Hesse. You set high standards for those grade 9 students. You would be angry by the censorship standards being applied by the province today. I loved you for your parenting of our boys. I loved that they always felt assured their mom wouldn't judge their friends. Gail, your struggles with anxiety and depression required an exertion that it would have tired many. So you adopted the phrase, "one day at a time." That's my new mantra. There were days when you doubted your ability as an educator and as a parent. Let me say, Gail, you were always good enough. Finally, thank you for letting me be me. You let me fulfill my need to serve. When in recent years you would call me and ask if I was coming home soon, it was never out of anger. In closing, any day I can lose my car keys, my wallet, or my cell phone. But the day I lost you was the hardest of my life. One day at a time. Thank you. Thank you for coming today.
"47 years of reading wouldn't be a bad thing." Just putting it out there. Friends, from the book of James, chapter 2, verses 14 to 18. "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if you say that you have faith but do not have works? Can faith save you? If a brother or sister is naked and lacks daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace and keep warm and eat your fill,' and yet you do not supply for their needs, what is the good of that? So faith by itself, if it has no works, is dead. Some will say, 'You have faith and I have works.' Show me your faith without works, and I by my works will show you my faith." These words remind us that faith is never something that is held quietly inside. It takes root in the things that we do and in the lives that we touch, and faith shows itself in our compassion and in our curiosity and in our courage and in our care for others. And Gail's life reflected that kind of faith. A faith that was lived in motion in classrooms and libraries and kitchens and late-night conversations and long-distance phone calls, in the circles of friendship that she helped create. She believed deeply, deeply in learning, lifelong learning, expansive learning as a way of growing closer, not simply to truth, but to one another. She pursued knowledge not for prestige. In fact, she would probably feel a little uncomfortable with the attention being paid to her today. But she did it for the joy of understanding and for the good that it could do in the lives of others. Her work in education and as a librarian were an extension of her spirit because she connected to people with what they needed to grow. That same spirit extended to her care for others at In From the Cold, where she was a part of a team that turned the church into a place of safety and nourishment and support. A place where those without a home could find rest and warmth and dignity and comfort. Her faith came alive in service to others, not even the grandest of gestures, but the steady acts of compassion that spoke clearly of her values and her heart. Community seemed to find its way to her as much as she found her way to it. Whether it be through church programs or social justice circles or her neighborhood connections, Gail had a way of widening the circle to make sure that everybody felt included. She valued conversation, laughter, and shared experience. She noticed people first. She remembered the details afterwards. She showed care in ways that were both thoughtful and practical, and wherever she went, she built community wherever she landed. That is no small feat in a world that more and more tells us to take care of yourself first. Now, we know that Gail's journey also had a share of struggle. She lived in the midst of mental health issues that often made life difficult, yet these challenges never defined her. She faced them with courage and dignity and integrity, kept moving forward with grace, and continued to care for others even when her own days were heavy. She found ways to persevere and to learn and to laugh and to love, and her strength was quiet but real through all of it. And that kind of strength endures without fanfare, and it inspires without ever asking to be noticed. And if you doubt that, consider the messages from those she raised up here today. Through it all, Gail lived what the letter to James called faith with works. Her beliefs and her actions were intertwined. Her compassion, her advocacy, her generosity, her integrity were all part of a living faith. It was a faith that fed the hungry and welcomed the stranger and stood with those who needed support and advocacy and strength on the journey. When we speak of faith like that, we are also speaking of God's grace. The same grace that guided Gail's life continues to hold her now. It has held her through everything up until this point and carries her now. God's grace gathers every joy and every sorrow, every question and every act of love, and brings them into wholeness and into peace. The God who has walked beside her every moment of her life has led her home and holds her closer than ever. And that same grace, friends, holds us too. Here in our grief and in our remembering, it holds the family and friends who loved her, the friends that she cherished, the communities that she helped to build. It holds all who continue her work from this day forward by choosing kindness, by seeking justice, and by living with curiosity and courage and conviction. What was the phrase that we used? To know better is to do better. The best way that we can honor Gail's life is to carry forward the memory of the love that she shared. To live as she lived, with compassion and with curiosity and with conviction. To keep expanding the circle of care. To keep that faith alive, not in words alone, but in the way that we live and love each other and live and love those we don't even know each and every single day. In the United Church of Canada, we often say, in life and death and life beyond death, God is with us. We are not alone. Hear those words again. In life, in death, in life beyond death, God is with Gail. God is with you. God is with us. We are not alone. Thanks be to God for a love like Gail's. Amen. Friends, I invite you simply to sit back, place your feet firmly on the floor, feel the weight of the chair supporting you, close your eyes, remember Gail fondly, and listen to this musical offering of tribute to the life of Gail Stilwell.
It's been 7 hours and 50 days since you took your love away. I go out every night and sleep all day since you took your love away. Since you've been gone, I can do whatever I want. I can see whomever I choose. I can eat my dinner in a fancy restaurant, but nothing, I said nothing can take away this love. 'Cause nothing compares, nothing compares to you. Been so long without you here, bird without the sun. Nothing can stop these lonely tears from falling. Tell me, baby, boy, I see. Told me, guess what you told me? What you do? But he's a fool, 'cause nothing compares, nothing compares. All the flowers that you planted, mama, in the backyard, all died when there. Time's hard, but I'm willing to give it another try. Compares, to compares, compares to you.
Friends, let us pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks today for Gail, for the beauty and strength of her spirit, for her kindness, her wisdom, and most of all, her fierce love for so many. We thank you for all the quiet acts of care and the words that she offered that lifted others in their time of need. We are grateful for all that was faithful and kind within her, for the joy that she sparked and the peace that she sought. Even now in death, we trust that she is held in your embrace. We give thanks that struggle is ended and wholeness has come. We ask you, O God, to surround her loved ones with your presence, that they, in their remembering, may find healing. Be near especially to her family as they carry the weight of her absence and the longing of unfinished or unstarted conversations. Strengthen all of us, O God, as we seek to be present and supportive to one another in this time. Help us to offer real comfort and tangible love. Grant us wisdom to be gentle with each other's grief and give us the courage to face our own. And God, for all who are grieving today, whether for Gail or for others that they have loved and lost, we ask that they may feel the nearness of your Spirit, the kindness of community, and the slow healing that comes through time and tenderness. May the light that Gail carried shine on in each life that she touched, that her divine spark might bless this world for years and years to come. We pray all this in sincerity and hope as we gather all of our prayers and our love for Gail into the words of the one prayer that Jesus taught us, in whatever words and language and tradition bring us closest to the comfort of your presence, as we say, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Friends, at this time, I'd like to direct your attention to the screen for a video tribute to the life of Gail Stilwell. This time I would like to invite Jessica forward to read a prayer that was written by Gail.
Gail was notorious for keeping paperwork of all kinds. Trust me, I tried on more than one occasion to help her throw away old documents, and each one had to be thoroughly reviewed before permission was granted for it to reach the garbage pile. But this habit of Grandma's has now ended up giving us a much treasured gift now that she is gone. None of us really knew a lot about the spiritual side of Gail, but we found an old church bulletin and an insert from a sermon she attended on prayer. What makes this even more special is it's dated March 4th, 2000, from South Calgary Community Church, the day her first grandbabies were dedicated. The insert is a worksheet of sorts, and Grandma took her homework very seriously. She begins by sharing a time that prayer was answered. She said a prayer was answered when they moved out west and everything worked out okay, and that the babies were healthy, were born healthy, and Jessica was okay, and that Dylan would be loving and supporting. The next prompt is, what encourages you to pray? She wrote hope, joy, sadness, church services, and other people, specifically in from the cold. Why have you come here today? Grandma responded, to experience God's presence. There was a few pages then provided to write down her prayer, and she used all the pages. Grandma's prayer shows us her heart, and sharing with you today as we end teaches us to love like Grandma did. Dear God, is this the right job for me? How do I organize my time better so I don't feel so pressured? Can I make a commitment to exercising? I want to do activities that are out in the world that I avoided. Help me to risk a little. Help me to be a good grandmother. Help me to be a good mother that is loved by her sons. Take away sadness. Crying hurts so much. I've always had to be strong. Help me when I am weak or scared. Help me make decisions that are worthy of you. I want to teach someone to read and write. I want to make a difference in this world. Help me to find peace instead of this restless seeking and wandering. Give me an opportunity to go to school. I want to be there. Help me get the Christmas gifts wrapped. Again, it was March. And help me write letters that I've put off for years. Give the courage to me to ask for help. Make me stronger when someone says no. I don't want to feel defeated. Give me a chance to travel, explore, and discover this summer. Make the house and garden prettier. Number 1, make me responsible about money. I need to learn how to budget and not waste in terms of food and useless interest because I returned books late or didn't pay bills on time and spent money on things I didn't need. Free me from the past, a hurtful place at times. Heal old wounds. Thank you, God, for Jesse, Leaf, Dylan, and Larry. I pray they all go on to jobs and educations that are fulfilling. I pray for their partners. Help me find ways to reach them about smoking. Help me find a quiet place that doesn't escape, like reading. Help me feel less responsible. Thank you for bringing me here. Help me feel more comfortable at the art gallery. Help me find a quiet place that doesn't escape, like reading. Make me feel less responsible. Oh, sorry. I did that part already. Help me to face the inventory with confidence. Help me to listen better to my family, friends, and coworkers, and then help me to act on that listening process. Thank you for this chance to talk. Tell me Candy is going to be okay. Be with Larry's parents on this trip to the United States. Look after Christy's family. I pray that a new start in New Brunswick is open to them. Hold up Barb, Carrie, and Dawn. Give them their joy back. Forgive Mike for what he did. Look after Cynthia. Help her grow up. Let Michelle work at a job she loves. Make this Easter a happier time. Help me with the housework. Help me sleep at night. Give Cheryl the strength to let her children grow in love and security. Keep Wendy writing. She shines there. Help Casey heal the rift with her dad. And be there with the whole family for their renovations. Look after Jeff, Melanie, Frank, Jay, Dave, Tyson, and all of Jessica and Dylan's friends. Help Jennifer to find a loving partner. Be there for the people of Mozambique. Help me act on all of my good intentions. Help Jesse and his friends grow and make sensible decisions. I will try this prayer time each week. Help me be consistent about it. Amen. On the back of the bulletin, there is what appears to be a poem. Grandpa and I have debated that Grandma did not write this poem. However, I've put it through every AI generation or generator, plagiarized. It is not plagiarized. This was simply Grandma's heart, and I will end with this. Life is renewed in spring. Flowers bring joy and sadness. They speak to my heart. Picture frame, a portrait, a mask. Who am I in the picture? Life cannot be contained in a picture frame. Flowers flow, grow, die, leaving seeds behind. This is my life ever changing, ever growing. Beauty in nature is God's way of lifting me out of the darkness. Thank you, Grandma.
May all of our prayers be as worthy as those of Gail Stilwell. Friends, in a moment we are going to depart from this place. I'm going to ask if you would be so kind as to allow the family to leave when we go, because we are going to be heading out to inter Gail in the Memorial Garden here at Red Deer Lake United Church. The rest of you are invited to remain and to join us in the link afterwards. The family will come back in from that brief time of interment and meet you in the link. There's a light reception prepared for you, and I would like to encourage you to stay and share your memories and your condolences with the family, because that is an important part of why we are here today, right? To hold one another in our grief and to remember well. Will you all please stand? Into your mercy, O God, we commend your servant Gail. Receive her into the arms of your mercy and raise her up with all your saints into everlasting peace. Help us who remain to live in faith, hope, and love until the day when all creation is made whole again in your presence. And for now, Gail Stilwell, may God bless and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God look upon you with kindness and give you peace this day and always. Amen.
Well, I'll be damned. Here comes your ghost again. But that's not unusual. It's just that the moon is full and you happen to call. And here I sit and on the telephone, hearing a voice I'd known a couple of light years ago, heading straight for a fall. As I remember, your eyes were bluer than robin's eggs. My poetry was lousy, you said. Where are you calling from? A booth in the Midwest. 10 years ago, I bought you some cufflinks. You brought me something. We both know what memories can bring. They bring diamonds and rust. Well, you burst on the scene, already a legend. The unwashed phenomenon, the original vagabond, straight into my arms. And there you stayed, temporarily lost at sea. The Madonna was yours for free. Yes, the girl on the half shell could keep you unharmed. Now I see you standing with brown leaves falling all around and snow in your hair. Now you're smiling out the window of that crummy hotel over Washington Square. Our breath comes out like clouds, mingles and hangs in the air. Speaking strictly for me, we both could have died then and there. Now you're telling me you're not nostalgic, then give me another word for it. You were so good with words and at keeping things vague. 'Cause I need some of that vagueness now, it's all come back too clearly. Yes, I loved you dearly, and if you're offering me diamonds and rust, I've already paid. paradise that makes me think of two. Love lost such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get tossed. And home to you. Lullabies, look in your eyes, run around the same old town. Doesn't mean that much to mean that much to you. I've been first and last, look at how the time goes fast, but I'm all alone at last, rolling